My name's Corwin.
And I'm James.
And thanks for watching and listening to This Movie's Gay!
Oh, Merry Pissmas! Oh, wait, shoot,
Christmas
that's the other podcast. Corwin.
Oh, hold on, I'm gonna put on a tiara. I don't have a Christmas hat, so I'm gonna put on my tiara that I wear during my streams.
Nicole bought this. It's a golden Santa hat. It was for Pissmas. That's a thing we do on Mostly Speaking Sentai. There's no time to explain. But it's golden. It's nice. And wow, this squishy ball on here feels very good when you squish it.
Stop
oh no.
Squishing the squishy ball on top of your head.
Nicole, I'm going to have to cut this squishy ball off. It's going to distract me.
I have a wand. So we had a little Christmas thing last night with some of my friends, and I got a wand and a Baby Yoda and a Canadian cookbook and a Funko Pop figurine of Queen Elizabeth II.
I understand all of these besides the Canadian cookbook.
The person that gave it to me is Canadian, and he knows I like cooking, so
Okay.
He gave me a Canadian cookbook to cook Canadian food.
What's a Canadian dish?
Poutine.
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess that the one famous Canadian, that's the only one I'm aware of, at least.
Baby Yoda.
Corwin's showing him off.
I'm showing off Baby Yoda. He's partially rainbow because he's fading into my green screen. So besides that terrifying bit, he looks adorable.
At first I was like, oh, Nicole's brother makes the rainbow Baby Yodas. But I was like, oh no, this is a Funko Pop. Nicole's...
No, it's not a Funko Pop.
Oh, I thought you said it was a Funko. Oh no, that's of Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth II.
The third. Yeah, he
sure
3D printed a rainbow Baby Yoda.
A rainbow Baby Yoda.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Amazing. That sounds amazing. Also, I have soup. I think I talked about it. No, I talked about it before I went live. I have soup because I didn't finish eating my dinner.
So Corwin will be
very quickly.
Corwin will be eating soup during the record.
I will.
Slurp it up.
And James can't stop me.
I can't.
He would stop me if I was there.
I mean, as long as you didn't get soup on the windscreen, I probably wouldn't care. TC
He really wouldn't.
TC during a record for a Patreon podcast made dinner the entire hour we were recording. And it was banging pots and pans. He, with his hand, split butter in half. I was like, oh, why are you doing this to me?
Wait, he did this at your house?
No. This was at his house. He hates Angel, and that's what the podcast that B is about. He's like, the only way I can get through this podcast is just doing chores while I'm talking to you. So...
Amazing.
That's what I think he might like put together furniture next time.
So I'll have a cooking on stream moment, and I'll put together something next time we have This Movie's Gay. I'll just be like, the next movie that I hate, I'll just make cookies or something while we're
Guys,
recording.
You heard that. We are doing yet again Bed and Breakfast of Terror.
No, we are not. I will not be watching that. It's not even. It's past Halloween, James. You can't make me.
I mean, we'll still do it. But Corwin, speaking of things you don't want to do, anyone who's watching live tonight, there's a bonus episode of This Movie's Gay in the podcast feed tonight. We're doing Christmas at Pee-wee's Playhouse. It Takes Two to Toku joined me. They're two wonderful people, and we had a great time talking about Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah, I refused to do it. I refused to do that episode. So I told James he had to get someone that identified as queer.
And I got
to be
two
on the episode with him, and he got two people that identify that way, who are longtime listeners, and we love them.
Sure.
And yeah, I will not be listening. You're welcome.
So I would like, Nicole watched it along with me because every single night for the 25 days of Christmas, we've been watching a different Christmas special. However, I never got her opinion on it. Nicole, she might be in the other room. Never mind. Pee-wee
Herman, nightmares. Gives me nightmares. So...
I was warm watching it. I was like,
I'm not watching. I'm not gonna go back and listen to the. I might listen to the episode for It Takes Two to Tango, but that's it. I will not be.
They're in my camp, baby.
I will not be watching.
Camp Pee Wee.
So I allowed James to do it as a bonus episode. He obviously didn't stream it on Twitch, so it's not on Twitch, but it is in our podcast feed.
Corwin, speaking of Twitch, I've mind blown. The things I've realized I should be doing on Twitch. One,
yes.
I got high a few days ago and watched Meet the Deedles. It's an amazing movie.
You talked about it. I was literally listening.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, James, I lurk on your streams all the fucking time.
I was going to say I was coming down from being high, so I might not have remembered you being there.
No. James, I support you. I'm constantly in your streams.
Same. I have so many, like, what are those things I get from, I can spend them.
Channel points.
Is that it?
Channel points.
Okay, yeah. I have so many.
You can spend them now if you want. Just tell me to take off my glasses for 5 minutes or something. I don't know.
That's a distraction. This is a podcast, bro. We don't need something. We don't need a gimmick to make this more difficult. But
James,
guys,
my middle name is difficult. Let's be real.
Watch. It's Kingdom Hearts. It's me starting Kingdom Hearts. It's so. And so many people were watching. I was like, wow, should I just get high, watch a movie, then try to recant the plot on a stream? That seems successful, but...
It sounded like a fever dream, honestly, the movie did.
It's bonkers. If you guys have Disney Plus, please watch Meet the Deedles. But a couple nights ago, Nicole and I did our second annual call-in show where this year we were able to do it on Twitch. We said, hey, here's our phone number, call in, and we will field as many calls as we can get. It was very fun. And then I realized that's what I should be doing on streams. I'm playing a game, answering calls, and that's what it is.
Yes.
Thoughts?
Yes. I mean, that's a good idea. That's something you like to do, so do it.
Yes.
But
king of Twitch.
Also pay attention to your chat, James. Jesus.
I do, except when I'm doing a podcast. Then I don't.
I know it's not when you're doing a podcast. There have been times where I've seen y'all playing and I've seen like someone talking and you just like don't see it for a while.
Yeah, because we're playing and I can't just how our setup is set up. I have a very small screen that has the chat on it. I have bad eyes. I don't have health insurance. I don't have optical insurance. I can't get a new prescription to get new glasses. So I'll have these for probably another 3 years. And then my focus is on here. So especially if we're playing like Mario Party, you better believe I'm focused, I'm lasered in so I can make sure I get bonus stars to beat Nicole every single time.
James is like, beating Nicole is more important than reading my chat.
I don't know.
That's why James misses when I'm in his chat, because he just doesn't see it because he's focused on Mario Party. Then he, like, I'll hear it like 20 minutes later and it's like, oh, Corwin was here. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I was.
There have been times, every single time we've streamed Mario Party, I've won because of bonus stars. And Nicole has now just, it is hysterical mad in the sense that, like, it's so funny that this keeps happening. And I'm like, I'm not, like, that's how I play the game. Just make sure
Nicole's
you get it.
Nicole's gonna take the game, whatever you have it on, and she's gonna just beat the shit out of it with a bat or something.
I mean, they're her games, so she's not gonna do that.
She's gonna. I would pay to see it.
She's gonna get a piñata of like Dora the Explorer, because that's the typical like humanoid piñata. And then she will put
your face on it?
She'll put my face on it, or put the it's not in frame, the Baby Sinclair mask that we have, and then say, I know that's the representation of you, James, and just beat the shit out of it because I'm not the mama.
It is in frame.
Oh, it is? Oh,
yeah.
I need to see both the recording program and that, so I have that moved all the way over. So I thought it wasn't in frame. Like this is how far I can see. I got one more thing to talk about before we get in. I finally put out the first cold brewing episode.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
How'd it go?
we cold brewed.
Actually, I know you talked about it in your on stream, right? And
No,
I think I heard you.
No, not yet.
You talked about. I feel like you talked. Oh, y'all were drinking cold brew during Pissmas. Yeah, that's what it was.
And that ruined me.
Like, I know you've been talking about cold brew. I've heard you talking about fucking cold brew.
So, longtime listeners of this show will know that I always wanted to cold brew different liquids, meaning take that bag of coffee, put it in different liquids, and see how it tastes. I did eggnog. It turned out it didn't become like, oh my God, I'm jittery and I'm great. But it's just eggnog with a nice flavoring of coffee. It's so thick.
You know what that's called, James?
What? Cold brewed egg? Oh, I called it brewnogs. Like brew dogs.
When you do that, it's just infusing things.
It's cold brewing, baby.
It's infusing.
I'm cold brewing different liquids.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed your cold brew process.
And Nicole even enjoyed it. Next time we're doing coffee creamer, cutting out the middleman. But you can watch those videos on the Mostly Speaking Sentais. No, the middleman is the middleman is brewing coffee. So
you said cutting out the middleman. The middleman there is water.
Yeah, technically. But I mean, it's specifically brewing of the coffee. So what you can do is, hey, I don't have time to brew. I slept in, as Nicole always does. So she can just plop some water in the microwave, heat that up, pour the cold brew creamer in. Oh man, she's up and livid right now.
James. Okay. Well, I'm glad you got that done, and I'm glad you are enjoying this process of infusing things with coffee. And so this week's movie, now that we're, however long in, was Happiest Season. We have Janene in chat who has watched the movie. Instead of, having a guest, we luckily have someone with us that has watched the movie.
Yeah.
Because originally, one of my roommates forced me to watch this movie with her. Didn't force. I wanted to. And I was like, you've got to be on the podcast. You've got to be on it. And she refused. So, yeah, that's that.
I thought we were having another streamer, so I could have asked Nicole. She might have done it.
It's fine. So, the movie, James. Can you give us a quick synopsis?
Yeah, hey, have you guys watched any of the other holiday movies that we've watched on this stream? It's the same exact plot, just they have siblings now.
I feel like that's a stretch, but okay.
No, Corwin. I wrote down, before we started watching, I wrote down the plot of the movie, and I got all of them correct.
Okay.
Because I'm like, oh, these are the movies. The only thing that threw me off was the other sisters. It's the siblings. That's what threw me off. Let me do the plot real quick.
Yep.
Two people, they're in love. Kristen Stewart, she's not really into Christmas, but other person, I don't remember. Harper. Okay, so we have Kristen Stewart, we have Harper. Harper's like, oh, I wish you could come visit my family. And then in the morning after they do a little B&E, she's like,
bacon and eggs.
Yes, exactly. They say, oh, I'm coming to your family. So they go to the family and she actually isn't out to her parents. And then tension starts to build, like in quite a bit of the movies we've seen on this show that take place around Thanksgiving or Christmas. And then she tells that, like, they find out, but too late, Kristen Stewart says, because Kristen Stewart's like, I'm out. I can't do this for you anymore, especially because we were almost to your parents' house and then you told me that you weren't out, instead of saying, oh, you actually want to come? Let me fill you in before you make a commitment here. And speaking of commitment, she's got that ring because she's going to propose. And that's the plot.
Okay. This movie, I've seen it twice now, has a lot. There's a lot of discussion around the movie, and Clea Duvall is happy that discussion is happening around the movie. So this is Clea Duvall's first movie that she's directed, and she co-wrote it with
Mary Holland,
who played Jane,
God,
the youngest
she's so
sibling.
fucking funny.
Okay. I have a lot of problems with the movie.
I just have one. I mean, technically
I didn't
two.
like it that much. I mean, I want to like it because I absolutely love everyone in the cast.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the movie that much.
I think I only didn't like it because the issues people have brought to, like, hey, this is the issue with this movie, were glaring because someone had already told me that. And that is the two main characters, their chemistry just don't feel like they're actually in love.
It's because, okay, so the thing with this movie is that you've got all these great actors and actresses playing stock characters, and they have no charm behind them. They've got nothing. There's just surface level stock character, and there's nothing pulling you into them. Like the family sucks.
Oh,
no
yes.
one in that family.
Hold
no
on.
one in that family
Hold
is
on.
nice, except for Jane.
Yes, okay. I will defend Jane.
Jane is the only one
They were so
that
mean.
is redeemable. Everyone else sucks.
And we find out why she doesn't suck in that, like, at the end, we find out. So the other two sisters, Allison Brie and Harper, they're fighting for their parents' love. But Jane she's great. She's doing her own thing.
Her parents gave up on her.
And
so
here's why.
She's not having to, like, fight for them.
She isn't bad because we gave up on her when she wouldn't quit biting in preschool. And I thought that was a funny line. But after we giggled about it, Nicole said, wow, that's a real young preschool. They gave up on her that early.
They were so mean to her the whole time.
Yeah.
And then we're supposed to expect the family to be like, oh, we're supporting this new gay marriage and everything, and it's so good for our family, when the family has sucked the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
The family sucked their entire lives.
Yeah.
The family's not redeemable. There's no redemption there. There was no redemption arc. There was just like, oh, we've accepted him at the end, and oh, I want to do karate. And Victor Garber is like, oh, I don't want to accept your money because I want my daughter to be who she is. Your daughter sucks too.
I think it wasn't accepting money. Wasn't that a campaign person?
No, it was accepting money. It was a big donor.
Oh, I thought that was, in Parks and Rec when
Jen Barkley.
That's
it wasn't Jen Barkley.
I thought it was that kind of person.
No. They look similar. It's not even the same actress.
Oh, no, I know that. I just thought it was that occupation.
Yeah, no. It's
a campaign manager?
It was campaign manager is what you're thinking of. But no, it was literally a donor. She had money.
Corwin, I started tearing up in this movie.
I did not.
When do you think I started tearing up?
I was yelling at the screen the whole time. You started tearing up. I can't think of a time you would start tearing up.
When Jan's huge painting,
Jane's painting got ruined.
And and she's like, I spent 100 hours on that, and you guys think it was nothing, like you think I'm nothing, and I felt that because she's been so fucking nice. I was like, I wish I had. They
brushed that whole moment off.
Yeah,
they brushed it. She her painting was ruined. She had this big moment, and then like Victor Garber's getting on to the girls about fighting, and they're like, "Not you, Jane. We know you just wanted to feel included." And it's like, you're not going to address that Harper in a fit of rage after the fighting, after everything's been spoiled, after the fighting's all done. Kristen Stewart has already left, grabs the painting, and then smashes it.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah,
And we expect to go from that moment and have that character who we haven't seen her be charming. We haven't seen her do anything nice throughout the whole fucking movie. We expect her to end up with Kristen Stewart at the end. And not Riley? Aubrey Plaza?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Also, the Dan Levy speech after Kristen Stewart leaves of talking like, hey, how was it when you came out to your parents? Okay, well, this is what happened when I came out to my parents.
That was very forced.
Oh, I thought it was like, I mean,
no. I literally live with the epitome of Dan Levy. Like, Dan Levy in Schitt's Creek and this, like, I live with Ryan. who is basically that same person.
Wait, what?
Dan Levy really in that situation would have shown up at the door, which he did, been like, get your things, we're leaving.
Okay.
And there wouldn't have been any staying. It would have been, we're gone.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been no stopping at a gas station later. The snacks would have already been in the car. My roommate pointed out last night when we watched it that this is a movie that would be a great movie 10 years ago. It's another situation where we're seeing one of these where it's like, yes, this is progressive and great, and it's got all these major stars in it. Would have been great 10 years ago.
Yeah, and my point being is, like, even though we've seen this, and unfortunately we have seen this, but other people aren't going to see what we see because it's been... they're either indie or they've been buried because of the content when they were released. So, like... It's good that this was made for a wider audience to see, but it should have been done better.
It should have definitely been done better. Like, even going to the coming out scene, like, that in itself was a very traumatic scene.
Yeah.
It's a very traumatic thing. And seeing the reaction of that, it doesn't sit right with me, and I haven't been able to process why the whole thing doesn't sit right with me. I mean, part of it's probably Harper smashing Jane's painting, breaking other people's things. And then when we had her denying that she was gay and Kristen Stewart leaving and the whole party leaving. And then later when Alison Brie's character was being confronted about lying, that's when Harper is finally like, oh, no, she wasn't lying, when it's just her and her family. Like, okay, I get not wanting to accept yourself in front of everybody. That's very traumatic. It's a very traumatic moment. And yes. But even Dan Levy's speech about, you know, maybe Harper's just not ready for this. Maybe she's not ready now. Maybe she'll be ready later. Okay, I accept that. Harper and Kristen Stewart shouldn't have gotten back together.
There's also
not then, and definitely not 6 months later or a year later or whatever the fuck it was with them like married or engaged. Like, no.
There's also one huge glaring issue in that, like, that ending scene. We find out that Riley, Aubrey Plaza's character, the same thing happened to her.
The same thing happened to her.
She should not have come up and said, like, hey, how you feeling? Shake my hand. It should have been a middle finger and then leave. No, that's all that should have been.
No, but that adds more reason why Kristen Stewart should have ended up with Aubrey Plaza's character, because Aubrey Plaza... Literally, she went through the same situation. She grew from it. She went up to Harper and was like, how you doing? I can empathize with you because I went through the same. Yeah. You put me through that same situation. And I don't even remember if she apologized. I think she did. No, she didn't apologize to her. She talked about doing it later to someone else. But, like... There's no like comeuppance for Harper's character. There's no charm for Harper's character. So why are we supposed to support her?
I don't know. And it would have been a great, like, from a writing standpoint, to make Riley and Kristen Stewart to get together, because when Riley walks up when she's like drinking the mug at that benefit thing, she's like, hey, she even says like, hey, I've been where you are.
Yeah.
And like, then they get that friendship. And then even if it's not like a right away, we get the 1 year later and they're together. You would have been like, yes, that's the good thing to happen.
Everyone's mad at Harper's character. I haven't found a single person. I mean, they probably exist. I haven't found a single person that's like, oh yeah, Harper, great. Because we didn't see anything of good from Harper.
Yeah.
The only thing we saw was the very beginning when they were being cutesy, and we saw these little clips of like, you know, them cooking in the kitchen with Dan Levy and like all these other things. But we didn't see any action. We didn't see anything like that. We saw Harper being like, I hate that you don't like Christmas. Come home with me. Knowing that she had lied already about being out. And then being like, oh, you know, maybe you don't want to go. You've got all the pets. And then not doing anything to not being like, okay, the morning after where she was like regretting her decision, that would have been the time to be like, okay, look, I'm not out. My father has this big donor coming. I can't come out right now, blah, 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 blah. Whatever her excuses are, there would have been a good time to sit her down and say that. And Kristen Stewart should have had that moment to be able to be like, okay, I still want to go or I don't. Not, they're already halfway there.
Yeah.
I looked it up based on the Uber price. They were like 150 miles away. So already halfway to her parents' house and being like, oh, I'm not out and you're going to have to be in the closet for 5 days, which is a lot. And especially how like nitpicky the mom is, how there's no privacy. There's like that family talked down to Kristen Stewart like the whole fucking time.
Kept calling her an orphan, which
calling her an orphan, which is fucking weird.
When done right, it was funny. That's one thing I did enjoy about this movie is especially with Mary Holland's character, Jan.
Jane.
How am I? No, it's Jan. No, it's Jan. Hold on.
It's Jane. It's Jane. She treated Kristen like shit and everything ended up perfect. Yeah, because that promotes, like, there's already an issue in the LGBT community. I thought
I even made
it's Jane.
I put down Jan because like that's insane. Like
No,
I wrote down
it's
Jane
not
at
Jan.
first, and then because
It's
I first thought it was
James.
Jean, and then I was like,
It's Jane.
it's Jane, and then I was like, nope, that's not how you spell Jan, and then I crossed that out and kept hearing Jan.
It's fucking Jane.
Dang, that's odd.
Jane was the only redeeming character. The mom sucked. The dad sucked.
Yeah,
The sister sucked.
yeah,
Harper sucked.
yeah.
Why is Kristen Stewart there?
Well, I mean, like Kristen Stewart and Dan Levy, they were
Great.
Yeah,
Love them.
and dude, Lauren
So-
Lapkus and Timothy Simmons as the security guards. I wish that scene was at least twice as long. It was very funny.
I hated that.
Oh, what? You hate fun.
I don't hate fun.
You hate
So-
it.
The other thing about the coming out scene that didn't feel right with me is them having this big charge up where they're like fighting each other and you're like, yes, I see, this happens in holiday movies where siblings don't get along. They're fighting each other before a big explosion, whatever. You don't do a coming out or an outing on that. That makes that whole scene not funny at all. There's no comedy there.
I didn't think any
There's
of
just
that. Besides the
awful.
The husband saying like, "Oh, I would not get involved in this." I thought that was like acted funny, but everything else was. I was like, what? It was cringy because I was like, dude, there's so many people in the other room. How do they not already hear you? They're
And
speaking of
and on top of that, whenever Harper finally comes out to her parents. And is like, no, what's her face? Alison Brie wasn't lying. And the parents look so disappointed. Why does Alison Brie's character have to be like, I'm getting a divorce to like take some of the weight off of Harper?
I think
Why is the coming out a bad thing? And that's what the taking weight off, that's what that revelation and doing that's what it makes it seem like. It makes it seem like her coming out is a disappointment to them. And it's bad. And, like, you have the family immediately accept them. Immediately.
no, no. The father waited a night.
The father waited a night, but hey, that's better than Dan Levy's. And that's after, like, Harper had gone. Yeah, Harper waited for her family to accept her to go back and get Kristen Stewart. And she's like, I don't care what they think. It's like, you do.
love.
You waited the whole fucking time before you went and got her.
Just because, like, so...
Lies.
I don't understand because there is a clear switch that happens. They are in love with each other, seemingly in love with each other. We're told they're in love up until they go to the bar or something, and it's like an immediate switch is just flipped, and she turns into like a teenager of saying, where was it? Let me."
Oh, that. Made me so
she was
angry.
Like, I'm feeling suffocated. You're keeping tabs on me. I need some space. There's 3 fucking floors in between of you. This for 3 days now. You guys
She spent the entire night with her friends and her ex-boyfriend, and then is immediately like, The thing that got me was Kristen Stewart texting me like, I just want to make sure you get home safe. Text me, blah, blah, blah. I love you. Good night. And her being like, home safe, night.
Yeah. There's no justification for her acting that way unless you want to say like, oh, she's reverting back to her place in the family. However, that would make more sense. There's some horror movies that do that well of showing like, oh, you like, this is my role as the family. So when I go back, that's what I become.
We fall into these ruts that we live in.
Yeah, like when Allison Brie's character shows up, she's just like a straight up bitch.
The whole time.
And
Harper's a bitch to her too.
And
they're
like,
not nice to each other. And like, I get when you have these movies with the siblings that, you know, they're fighting for the parents' love and stuff. Usually, like, there can be that fighting and stuff, but there's not like, there's still some camaraderie there. There's not that just complete animosity for each other and then complete animosity for their other sibling that isn't included in this fighting for the love thing. None of it makes sense. None of it adds anything to their characters. None of it gives them any charm. Like, you see movies like, what was it? The movie with Will Ferrell, Step Brothers or whatever, where they're, like, fighting. And, like, yes, we're seeing that trope of these siblings fighting and, like, ice skating and trying to beat each other and all that. We've got this sibling rivalry trope going here. But it's elevated to being just hateful and mean.
And so it would have been better, like, it took until the end of the movie that I realized, maybe that it's because I just wasn't watching this movie properly, that they're doing this to like make the family proud and fighting for the affection of this father. I don't know if that's because I just missed that, but it wasn't solidified.
You definitely missed it because that was established in the beginning when they were like, Harper, blah, blah, blah. And then when they talked about Alison Brie's character and being like, yeah, and she dropped out of school, so now she's making gift baskets.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I was just too enamored by Mary Holland in that scene.
They have those subtle jabs at Alison Brie's character. So we're like, okay, I can understand why she's bitchy. But then you've got weird scenes like when she goes up and gets food at the little table with the hors d'oeuvres at that big party with Kristen Stewart. And she's having a conversation with Kristen Stewart and she just goes, I'm bored of this conversation, and walks away. What the fuck?
Yeah. And when you touched on
it seems like she was going there to be like, okay, what are the details of your arrangement with my sister? Like, it looks like she's trying to get some tea or something. Mm-hmm. And it's very close to her getting like some secrets. And instead she's just like, I'm bored of this, and then walks away. What?
Yeah, she just...
That makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, that did. But I mean, like, that kind of shows like she truly does not care. Which, and you started touching on it. As a person who is in a family of 3 children, Nicole is, I think you are, or don't you have a total... it's never sectioned off into 3 individuals. There is always, unless it's, hey, we all love each other, those children are weird. It's always like a coupling of 2 and then the one who's like kind of the outcast. It's never, there's never this situation where they all are hating each other.
I mean, Jane doesn't hate anybody.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, like, but Jane is still the outcast.
Jane
all 3 of them are
complete outcast from everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, we needed more of the beginning. We needed more of Kristen Stewart and Harper's relationship to like build a strong foundation of us liking Harper. But instead, it went right into the family, and it went right into Harper's family treating Abby like Kristen Stewart like shit, and then Harper. We have the story about Harper and Connor staying at the cabin together when they both had chickenpox and all that, and Kristen Stewart being like, you told me that story, but you didn't tell me that whole story. And her being like, oh, I just didn't think it was important. And like weird bits like that were like bits where it's like, oh, Harper doesn't really tell the truth, doesn't tell the whole truth. Especially knowing that Harper lied about coming out over the summer with their parents. Which, like, why? Why do that? Why lie? Why lie?
Yeah.
And then the thing with Riley, them being like, oh, the ex, and then Kristen Stewart having to find out from Riley that Harper outed her to everyone after they were in a relationship together. There was nothing there to make me like Harper's character. There was nothing there to make me like the mom. There was nothing there to make me like the dad. There was nothing there to make me like Allison Brie. So when you've got two characters that you hate fighting each other, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't want to see this.
So, with the boyfriend, Nicole, you know Chekhov's gun, correct?
Yeah.
So I will say that, like, Chekhov's insert this.
Oh.
That is the, like, hey,
I
Chekhov's.
always say Chekhov. I do too.
We were watching Anna and the Apocalypse, and in the movie, Nicole goes Chekhov's star. And I was like, oh, yes, you're absolutely right. That spoilers for Anna and the Apocalypse. Oh, that is going to murder the headmaster. Absolutely. That will lead to his death. In this, I go Chekhov's lock, and then we start laughing.
Oh, yeah, I said the same. She was like, the door doesn't lock, blah, 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 and I went, Chekhov's doorknob.
But I knew because there are siblings in this, I was like, it's not going to be one of the parents, it will be one of the siblings who see it.
Yeah.
And then I went, when they brought up the boyfriend, I went, or I think maybe Nicole said it, Chekhov's boyfriend. Yeah. Because we knew the boyfriend would be introduced and throw it, like, and shit needed to get out of here. Who cares that you're hanging out with your high school friends? Like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think Kristen Stewart cared about her hanging out with her high school friends. She just didn't want to. She went there and at the bar and was ignored. And, like, I get that. I have incidentally done that with friends where I haven't given them as much attention when I'm bringing them somewhere with, like, old friends. Like, that has happened. That happens to everybody. And Kristen Stewart's like, okay, I'm going to go home. And she wants to say, totally fine. Text. Don't be a dick.
So, hey guys, if you're in a slightly not great relationship, like, oh man, and you're the one who's like, man, it is time to go home from this party or this club or whatever, or bar, but you know that your spouse hates it when you say, hey, let's go home early, because they're like, oh, you just don't like fun, kind of like Corwin. I'm joking about that. Corwin likes fun. Here are some ways, luckily I'm not in a relationship like that anymore, but here are some ways that I found to make sure that you're not in that situation where you're just the fun wrecker. Say like, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. Hey, you got some podcasts in your ear. Just stay in the bathroom for a little bit. Stay in a stall. You're great. If you're in a city, say like, hey, the bar food here, or like whatever food is here, or hopefully they don't have food. Or if you're at a house party, this is great. Say like, hey, I'm going to go pick up some McDonald's. Then, hey, you're shredding off time, shedding it off. You're great. You don't need to worry. You're doing something that's taking up time.
Or James, the best way is just do what Kristen Stewart did. Hey, I'm kind of done with this. I'd like to go home, so I'm going to go home.
Oh, I thought you were going to say...
Would you like to come? No? Okay, great. Have fun with your friends. I'm going to go home. Have a good time. Like, that's fine. That's totally a rational thing to do. It is totally fine if you're tired or hungry or whatever to leave an event that your partner is at if they're fine. Like, if they're in a safe place, if they're with their friends, cool. Like, you can leave. You can do separate things. You don't have to be together. You can do separate things. You can go home. They can stay. They can come back home later and not be a dick.
As someone who is guilted into not doing that, hey guys, I got some stuff. But I thought you were going to say,
don't feel guilty if you're being guilted about something like that. You're not in a good relationship.
I know I wasn't in hindsight.
I know if it's a different situation. If there are some extenuating circumstances. If you're at like a party with all of your friends and they're not the friends and they kind of want to stay and because they're having fun and bonding and stuff, then maybe you should stay a little bit because they're your friends. But if it's like, a separate thing, you can go home. You can go home.
But I thought you were going to say, hey, do what Kristen Stewart did and hang out with the voice of Grumpy Cat.
Well, she did that before the Friends thing, which Harper was getting jealous about that too. And
which is so dumb.
There was another thing. When they were in the restaurant and they were talking about Riley, they were like, oh, there's Riley's family. Her lifestyle.
Yeah.
Just like the slightly homophobic remarks that just don't get addressed.
And
I'm like, okay.
His speech was also, he's like, the family values and family tradition, make sure there's not cracks in society. That came off as the same way as well.
And it's like, you've got these subtle homophobic remarks, and they're not remarked upon at all. No one's like, hey, I mean, she's doing great. Or it's not a lifestyle. It's, people are gay.
Or
things like that. Like, there's no rebuttal to them being like, let me be homophobic.
It's also never called back. When she does come out, she should have said, like, I didn't think you guys would accept me because of these things you said within the movie.
Perfect. That also could have happened. Did not. There was nothing. There was, we all have, like, things. Like, I wanted to take karate, but that's not becoming of a mayor's wife.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Corwin, I think we got to start wrapping up. Let me find.
Oh, we do. And you talked about us never talking about the movies. We do sometimes.
I am going to, hey, guys, I absolutely recommend this movie. I think Mary Holland's performance alone, watch this movie. She's great. I love her in everything I've seen her in. Wild Horses is her improv group with other great comedians. You can listen to that podcast, I think, where podcasts are found, or I think it's on Stitcher. But I think she's great. Nicole also loved the movie, but talking about all these points, and I think this is the most heated we've ever gotten on a show about a movie. So
everyone should watch the movie just because I would like more queer film to be made. But be aware that it has problems.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, we didn't even touch that it doesn't really have people of color in it as well.
Sure. Let me get some of my favorite quotes. Mary Holland said, she was like running and excited, and the mom says, settle down, and she goes, I am settled. Clearly not, though. And then we find out why the door in the basement, we find out that they're like, oh, go in Jane's old room. It's in the basement. And Jane says, oh, I used to have night terrors as a kid, and they put me down here so I wouldn't interrupt other people.
Mm-hmm.
And they then say, like, oh, we didn't have, this was kind of a nice thing that they did for Jane.
Jesus.
Oh my, I thought I was saying it right that time. Jane as A. So like James, but with an N and minus the S.
Correct.
Jane, there's no lock on the door because Jane was afraid they would lock her in. Wait, no, that's fucked up now that I say it out loud.
It's so fucked up. All of it's fucked up. It's let's just be curtain honest. That family is abusive. Harper shows signs of being abusive. They're done. I'm done with them.
Let me see.
Harper should be gone. It should be Kristen Stewart and Aubrey Plaza. That's who it should be. Abusive family. No excuses. They just brush off their terrible behavior, and it's a happily ever. You expect me to be a happily ever after? No. What's gonna happen, in a year after the ending of the movie is that Kristen Stewart's gonna end up needing to be saved by Dan Levy's character because Harper is an abusive bitch. That's what's gonna happen.
Another funny thing, they're driving to the skating rink, and in the car, they're all jam-packed in, and Mary Holland is like in the middle, and she goes, oh, are you guys comfortable? Because I can make myself real small. I thought that was very funny and cute. And I like that she was a fantasy writer. And this is the only thing I didn't call, but it's like, well, obviously, I didn't think that Dan Levy and her would like have a working relationship because like he says, oh, I represent authors. She's an author.
That was one of the few things I called because Dan Levy what Dan Levy said. I can represent, if I can represent blah, blah, authors, I can take care of a few pets for a couple days. And I was like, oh, so he's a publisher or whatever, or an agent or something. And then as soon as she started talking about her book and like explaining it, I was like, that's going to happen. And it did.
I was so happy.
I was happy that happened because Jane deserves it. But Jane also needs to get out of her family. She needs to be gone. She needs to abandon them.
It was very cute when the dad, not when the dad, like what the dad says is not cute. He's like, oh, I sunk all of the savings into it. And they're like, you didn't need to do that. We're proud of you. This is what he should have been saying to them. But Mary Holland, Jane says, oh, you don't need to worry about the money. Once I sell my book, we'll be set. And I just thought it was so cute. She is the saving grace for, like, she outshines everyone.
Yes.
Which
the family's still awful.
It's like, oh, I wrote this character for me.
Yeah. It's just so much. And even the sister, Alison Brie, meeting Kristen Stewart's character and just not acknowledging her. And then we immediately get Harper and her fighting or being like super fucking rude. We get it if one of them's being rude and the other one's being like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's fine. But both of them like fighting each other. And even Kristen Stewart points it out and she's like, I don't even know her anymore for like acting like that. And the children were unnecessarily creepy.
Yeah.
Why? The Alison Brie's husband, who she's divorcing, who, whatever, first meets Harper and is like, oh, a little cocoa butter on your hands. Oh, where's the hi? Where's the how are you? No, your hands suck.
No,
cocoa butter.
Yes, I thought he was going to be a very good character. Oh, wait, no, it's because it's never established, but I think he sells... Because he's like, oh, they
sell hand baskets.
Yeah, like potpourri and stuff like that. However, when Alison Brie is like, oh, this is, and she's like struggling, and he says, oh, Abby, he does, like, he knows her name. So I was like, oh, this guy's going to be good.
But he immediately insults her. He's immediately like, you don't shake somebody's hand and be like, cocoa butter. You need to use some cocoa butter. You don't do that.
If you're this character, that's not an insult. That's just you doing your business.
No, you and your business be like, oh, hey, your hands feel a little rough. You've been outside. I know it's cold and hands can be a little rough. I got some cocoa butter here from my wonderful gift basket.
Hey, man, Corwin,
okay.
That's why we're not salesmen. You got to get straight to the point.
No, he didn't even offer her any cocoa butter.
Oh, yeah, I guess, like, he should have said, like, and I have some great ones. Yeah, never mind.
And then we find out they're getting divorced because he's making out with the girl in the closet, and
the woman,
Brie's like, the woman in the closet, and Alison Brie's like, you promised not, blah blah blah, and he's like, sorry, and it's like, oh, you couldn't wait 5 days?
Yeah,
it was just unnecessary parts of their character. He was great in being like, oh, they're doing this again, I wouldn't get involved. Like, he was great for that, but like the other snippets that they're adding to him, didn't like. I'm like, no thanks.
I have one more thing to talk about.
Also, for that scene, the mom comes in, doesn't acknowledge Abby, really. The dad comes in, is like, my perfect girl, blah, 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 blah. And then is like, oh, hello, Abby. The fuck? You're so dismissive. Dicks! You have a guest who you think is an orphan, and you're like, we opened our home to people in need, to those in need. What the fuck? Fuck off. I might
not release this episode. We are peeved. But let's get out on a happy note. Let's get out on a classic James this movie's gay thing. They say, like, we get that 1 year later, and I go, 1 year Gator. What could that be? And I'm like, oh my God, this is a movie where, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for a child. Well, guess what? The character gets strucken down with the 1 year Gator. It's this cute little, like, obtrusive anthropomorphic gator that hangs around him for 1 year. And it's like, oh, well, why is he just hanging out with me? And he's always like talking his ear off, only in his head. Other people can't see it. Pushing things over, all of this. And then
James, I lost your plot.
At the end of the year, this guy who's like, oh, my spouse is gonna break up with me because she doesn't think I'm ready for anything. 1 year Gator looks up at him and he's like, hey, you handled me for a year. You can have a child. And then he's like,
James, I'm
1
lost.
year Gator. You're right, 1 year Gator. And he's like, I have to go. And he's like, no, you still have so much more shit to break for me to be ready. He's like, no, man, you're ready. You are ready. And then we get a 1 year later from the 1 year Gator. He has a kid. He's feeling great about himself. And then he looks up. No, it's in Florida. He looks into like the ocean and then he sees like a gator pop out, but it's 1 year Gator and he winks at him and he's like, I love you.
This is one of the tangents that I usually interrupt James on, and I've tried a couple times and he just keeps going. Hi, Chaos Witch.
Hey, what's up, Jordan?
Parrot. Oh my god. Don't encourage him.
Wait, what do you say?
He's a gator parent.
Yeah.
Janae said a few things that I don't know if I acknowledged or not, but let me do that now. I teared up when Dan Levy arrived at the door. That was a great moment where he's like, don't you get it? I track you.
Oh, yes.
I track everybody.
Love those.
Love him showing up. He would absolutely save the day. Kristen needs to hop in the car and go. She really did. Honestly, I was disgusted in Harper's character. Same. She treated Kristen like shit and everything ended up perfect. Shouldn't have. The security guard scene felt like it was from a whole different movie. It absolutely did. Was not the same movie. That was another movie. Don't know what it is. And them not believing her that she didn't try to steal the necklace and treating her like she was a thief the whole time. What the fuck?
When Kristen Stewart says like, hey, why don't you check the cameras? I thought the guy coming in was going to be their superior. And like, what I thought he was going to be like, what are you doing? You can't hold her. We looked at the film. It was the kids. Get her out of here. But that didn't happen. And I'm so glad that the kids fessed up, in quotes. But they're like, can we get our stockings now? No. If you frame someone for theft, you don't get your stockings. Frame someone for theft,
and then we have a whole scene with the mom being like, I'm missing this. I just want to know it's safe.
I wanted the kids to also have that.
So that thing happened in that exact scene, happened in Schitt's Creek with Moira being like, my earrings. It was a little cringy there, but Moira is a character and we could see it and it was funny. This, it was not. It was like, you are rude. You've got a guest who your daughter is vouching for, who hasn't had a problem with theft in the past or anything like that, and you're treating her like shit.
I would love to hear like, hey, the family was written this way, but then it's like, well, then why don't they get their comeuppance in the end? He wins.
There's no comeuppance.
He wins the mayor race.
He wins the mayor race.
There's
no comeuppance. There's
one
nothing.
last thing. We have to get out.
We have to stop.
I have one last thing. This is a very nitpick thing. In the Instagram scroll that you see at the end, it's Kristen Stewart and Harper, and it's like a ring picture, and they're hugging, and you can see the ring, the engagement ring, and it's hashtagged engagement, but it's spelled hashtag EN hyphen GAY hyphen, I think GED. The hyphens break up the hashtag. It wouldn't just capitalize GAY and people will know what it is. The hyphens break up a hashtag unless it's changed since the last time I've tried to hashtag something. But I'm pretty sure someone tell me in the chat. Actually, we don't have enough time. But that was my last nitpick. We don't have
the time.
However, I do recommend this movie. Mary Holland, 2 thumbs up, including Lauren Lapkus in there as well.
Just turn on the movie. Don't watch it. Turn it on in the background, or watch it if you want to yell at people. Watch the movie. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna
Plugs.
Follow me on Twitch if you don't already. Twitch.tv/corewinning. It's my name with ING at the end. Follow James, Mostly Speaking Sentai. Follow our podcast wherever podcasts can be found. James disappeared again. I do.
Corwin, are you there?
I'm here. If you have any suggestions for future movies, let us know. Follow my theater company stuff. It's Saltbox Theater Collective. All of those things.
Hey guys, check me out on Twitch and Nicole, twitch.tv/mostly speaking Sentai. It'll be in the description. Who knows? Go over to mlmpod.com to check out my other podcasts, such as Mostly Speaking Sentai. We just did our call-in show. It's great. Our Pissmas episode was very funny. And we're releasing some of the Patreon stuff in the free feed because I want to take a break. That stuff will be in the Mostly Speaking Sentai feed. If you're like, what's this Patreon all about? You'll be able to get Talking About Beyblade and an Engage with Nicolas Cage this week. Check out the other podcasts. Go over to patreon.com/MLMpod. And speaking of that, let's give a big old shout out to our $10 patrons. We've got Steve F., Eric Berry of Ranger Command Power Hour, Alex Z, Orion, Kayla, aka Two Grapes, Duo Grunfox, that's 2 grun for the price of Fox, I messed it up, Tyler Wright, and Elliot W. at Garlic Sunshine. And listen to my music under Marshland Monster. And
follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and all that at Core Winning.
And then follow me at MSS Pod on most stuff. Just search Mostly Speaking Sentai. That's where my eggnog or cold brew videos are going to be.
Thank you guys for being here. I've been Corwin.
And I've been James.
Bye.
This has been a Marshland Media production, produced by James McCullum. For more content, please visit mlmpod.com. To support our network and have access to exclusive podcasts, head over to patreon.com/MLMpod and sign up today.